Hey, everybody. We're here for another post-game show, and our streak has ended. This is the Forever Mighty post-game with Patrick and Eddy. And Eddy, it's not the outturn we wanted, or the turn after we wanted on the scoreboard. I don't know, man. I guess I'm a little whirlwinded here after I flew home on the freeway. But the Ducks could not pull off the victory. The comeback kids from yesteryear are not around this season. They tried to pull it back in the third period, but they fall to the red-hot Nashville Predators, who made it 10 in a row, 4-2. We're going to get into that in a minute here, but we got to talk a little pregame as we always do, Eddy. What did you think about who was scratched today? I think the biggie. Marcus Pettersson scratched, JT Brown scratched, Antoine Vermette scratched. And the heartbreak about Pettersson being scratched is that means both of our aging veterans, Bieksa and Boschman, slotted back into the lineup. What was your take on that, Eddy?
It's kind of odd when you're facing the hottest team in the NHL, and you've been playing so well as of late since Pettersson comes out. I mean, in the 9 games he had played, the Ducks were 7-1-1, and then you've got the hottest team in the NHL, arguably the best and deepest team in the National Hockey League coming. You're going in to face them on home ice, and you decide to put BX and Boschman both in the lineup, who are working well as kind of spare parts here and there. It's a weird decision. I actually honestly haven't heard the explanation from Randy Carlyle, which is going to be kind of interesting to hear what he has to say, because it kind of just doesn't make sense. It's not like Pettersson was lighting the world on fire, but it was kind of making it so that Lindholm and Manson could play together, and Fowler and Montour can play together. And when we get into the game later, you'll find out that Fowler and Montour, they play together for the entire game, but Lindholm had to split time between Manson and Bieksa, which definitely didn't help his game, and the pairing of him and Bieksa was awful. So I don't know about you, but it made no sense to me, and I think a lot of people agree with that.
I don't know, Eddy. I feel like we all know the reason why. This is a Randy Carlyle led team, a Bob Murray managed team. These guys are old school. They love that grit and sandpaper and gritty sandpaper, that leadership, gritty sandpaper-ish thingy that they love in players. And this is the game that called for it. This is a playoff matchup, obviously, with heartbreak. The Ducks, obviously, a lot of bad blood between them and Nashville, Kessler and Johansson. Obviously, they'll get into that. We can talk about that. But I just really feel like that was the move. And Carlisle's really, 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 all about, hey, man, I know what I'm going to get out of these guys tonight. I know I'm going to get that fire out of these guys. I'm going to pull my young guy out that I don't necessarily trust 100% and put in the guys that I know that are going to give me what they've always given me. That's how I viewed it anyway. I felt like it was so Randy Carlyle.
Yeah. It's tough because I don't want to feel like that's what he did, and I want there to be other reasons other than grit or bringing in the veterans to face a tough Nashville team, but I just don't see the logic behind it. I mean, we kept the team the same the last 2 games because they'd played 2 strong games, and then you go in after winning 3 in a row, and I mean, the changes aren't massive, but why change what's working when you go in and you face a tougher opponent? I don't get it. I understand making changes based on the opponent, but I think we all kind of agreed the Ducks have been playing some pretty good hockey, barring some third periods where they're getting caved in. And to change up the blue line at this point, the way they're all playing, especially the top 4, it's such a weird decision. But it is such a Randy Carlyle decision. Like you said, you don't see anybody else doing this, and I'm sure there's other coaches who'd make this decision, but it has Randy Carlyle's name written all over it.
Well, we'll get into some of that in a little bit. We got Fowler, Montour, obviously still together, and then as you mentioned, Lindholm Manson mixed up between the Bees there, between Bieksa and Boschman. Kessler and Johansson is the first time back on the ice together ever since that series last season. The bad blood between them. Who could like a guy like that? Who could cheer for a guy like that? As Johansson famously said. Yossi and Fiala out for Nashville there, so the Ducks kind of had a little bit of a bright spot there with those guys being out of the lineup. And Nashville is just so rich in their lineup that they healthy scratched Kyle Turris, the guy they got in a trade before the trade deadline, just because. And now he's back. He slots back in against Anaheim. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get this first period underway. But first, we put together a little intro for you guys. Hope you like it. Some classic Ducks. It may not be the best, but it is sure damn entertaining. Let's get it started, Eddie.
Trying to get by Benning. Darnell Nurse left it in the corner. Gets left center. Perry scores! Corey Perry!
Ilya able to shake away from Solani. It's given away to Solani. Around in front. Score! Teemu Solani with the steal. And the fans want one. Score! Off the floor! On the board! Paul Kariya!
All right, well, there's the intro. Hope you guys like it. Now we can get into what was an eventful first period for the Ducks. Wasn't a great one. Kind of started off a bit shaky with Weber. I mean, of all people, Yannick Weber skating in uncontested to the net, and Gibson has to make a good pad save early. And this was kind of the start of things to come, because right after that, not long, Smith walks in, shakes none other than Kevin Bieksa at the blue line, and he wires it top corner. And, I mean, what do we expect? You get Boschman and Bieksa in the line together, and, of course, the first goal is out of mistake by Kevin Bieksa.
Well, that's just kind of the way it goes when you slot him in there. It was a nice shot, though. Got to give it to Smith on the effort on that end of things. But just kind of what we expected there from Bieksa. I mean, I wasn't expecting a Lindholm play on that one.
Yeah, for sure, and it kind of continues a bit from there. But a little bit of stuff going on between the play there, with Johansson bumping shoulders with some Ducks players on his way to the bench. He makes a pass on Manson, and then Getzlaf gives him a little bump, a little bit of a precursor of what's to come. And of course, right after that, you have a scrum between Ritchie and Boteto. So I think there's a little bit of bad blood between these teams. It's kind of a budding rivalry based off the last two playoff matchups. And it wasn't necessarily a nasty game, but you could tell that these two teams don't like each other.
Yeah, and that's exactly what we expected. And, as much as Kessler is hated outside the Ducks locker room on the ice, he's loved on that team. He's a guy that he plays just through everything. Everyone knows what he's going through physically. So it's cool to see the the little shots there on Johansson going back and forth between the benches, and the team just letting him know they know he's there.
Yeah, and of course, who else makes the Ducks pay on not too long after that? It's Ryan Johansson.
Of course.
A tip-in off what was, I got to be fair, it was a beautiful backhand pass.
No, it was.
By Philip Forsberg, yeah. He made two very good passes in this game, and unfortunately, Getzlaf kind of loses his man in Johansson, who sneaks behind him and gets a tip on it, but it really all starts from that play by Philip Forsberg.
And there's not much you can say about it. There's nothing that Gibby could have done there.
Yeah.
I felt like that was a puck that was meant to go in the net. It was quite the play by Forsberg. He had a good game, and Arvidsson got the second assist on that, and he also had a heck of a game. Ryan Johansson, I don't want to spoil alert, but he got the always talked about, rarely occurring Gordie Howe hat trick, and that was the start of his night with this one.
Yeah, and a guy we got brought up on the last show was Mike Fisher, creating chances right after Nashville's second goal. They come close again as Fisher throws one in front from a bad angle, and it comes right out to a Predators player, and the one-timer is just wide. So Nashville really holding all the pressure in the first period, but the Ducks got one chance in this first period. Ritchie takes a penalty, so Nashville goes on the power play. You're thinking, oh no.
Naturally.
Nashville's going to make this 3-0. And, the guy who pretty much always gets the breakaways shorthanded for the Ducks is Andrew Cogliano. Gets a little bit of a half breakaway. Actually makes a good play to shoulder off the Nashville Predators defenseman. But Rene stops him, and that's kind of the trend of this game. Rene was strong in this one, and Cogliano just really doesn't score on most of the breakaways he gets anyway, so... Unfortunately, Ducks end up going down 2-0 after this first period, and it really just wasn't that great of a first period.
It's kind of what I expected out the gate. Nashville, they run that arena. They're going through a time period for this franchise, and there was a time in the day where people thought that Nashville wasn't going to survive. That they weren't going to have a franchise where. They just weren't that team that people would come and see, and now you look at those games and how crazy those fans are. All the chants after they score. I remember those in the playoffs. And that's a wild barn for guys to go in and play in. And it's a tough one, too. And they're just full, they're stacked. They're full of stars. And Rene's really had a resurgence this past couple of seasons. And Cogliano on that last play, I mean, as much as I love that guy, nice guy, super speedy, he's got skill for whatever reason. He needs to do, like, I don't know what it is. He just doesn't have the hands, I guess, to get the shot away the way that he wants to make it. But the amount of chances that guy has to score would just be great if he could bury 20 a year consistently.
Yeah, it doesn't seem like he has the finish, which I can't really harp on him too much for. I mean,
not everyone does.
Yeah, he's not a guy who's going to put up 20, 30 goals in a season. Unfortunately, he gets a lot of the shorthanded breakaways just because of his speed and his play in the penalty kill. But yeah, I mean, to be fair, he made a pretty good play shorthanded the last game and got a goal, so we can't really be too hard on him. But going into the second period, the Ducks were actually the first team to get a pretty good chance, and a bad giveaway by a guy you don't really expect to give away the puck in PK Subban. And Rakell's in all alone on Rene, but of course, the trend of the game, Rene denies him in close. And this is a guy you expect to score the way he's been playing.
No, it's true. He's been on fire, and it's a rare occurrence we see PK turn the puck over like that. But what are you going to do with Rene and that, man? It's just the game he's been playing lately. This team is, I hate saying it because we're a Ducks podcast, but I mean, it's hard to take any sort of credit away from this team, and they're getting the breaks. And it's just what happens when you're on a roll. The Ducks had plenty of games like this where the Ducks would turn over a puck and Gibby had to stand on his head, and they would come out, victorious. And this is the hottest team in the NHL the Ducks are walking into. And it's not like they're the best team that's playing average. I'll go out and put my money on them against Tampa, and that's a really darn close race. The Preds are on fire, and they're great. So just the way things would go tonight.
Yeah, and it was kind of a back-and-forth second period because right after that, Gibson has to make 2 good saves off a couple of Nashville rushes. And then Rakell, he gets a nice shot from the right circle, and Rene just gets enough with his shoulder. And really, I mean, that's the trend of the period. Forsberg gets on a half break. Lindholm breaks up the play nicely, which we're used to see him doing on a nightly basis. And, yeah, it was just kind of back and forth. A little bit better of play than the first period about midway through the second. But still, nothing really going for the Ducks.
No, but the great thing that's going on in this game that should be a bright spot for Ducks fans is how well the Rakell, Perry, and Getzoff line kept playing. I mean, Rakell kept getting his chances, as we'll talk about in the third period, and he continues on that scoring streak, and it's just a bright spot to look at. You can't win them all, and it wasn't the Ducks' night.
Yeah, and really the D-zone coverage by Nashville, at least in the first 2 periods and pretty much throughout the entire game, was just something else. I mean,
that top four is incredible.
Yeah, and they play the lion's share of minutes for Nashville as well. There was a stat that came up on the broadcast saying these guys average around 22, 23 minutes a night for this team, and you don't really see much from Potato and Weber. It's really, most of the time, it's Emelin and Subban because Josi wasn't playing tonight, and then Ekholm and Ellis. And, I mean, to think they did so well as well without Roman Josi in the lineup just shows you how much depth and how well-structured this blue line is. And to make it worse, the Ducks actually get a power play, so we thought maybe they can get one going into the third period. But Fowler misses a pass. Sissons gets a breakaway. Gibson actually makes a good save on the first chance. But Austin Watson comes up with the rebound and puts it in, and really not the 2 guys you want to give up a shorthanded goal to.
No, and I don't know what to say about that one. I felt like Gibson probably would like that one back, but when you have a chance like that going in tight like that, there's not much. I don't know, shorthanded like that too. Maybe I'm being too hard on Gibby. I kind of felt like he should have had that one at that point. Yeah,
I think so. I mean, like I said, he did make a good save on the first one, but he kind of puts himself in a bad position by sprawling out on the ice and not really allowing himself to be in good position to make the second save. But it's not all on him. I mean,
no, shorthanded goals are lazy goals by the power play. That's just what it is. You're not. I'm not. I shouldn't have dumped on him that hard. It's my bad, but. I just felt like maybe he should have been in a little bit of a better position. I hope my buddy Jason's listening to this. He can yell at me for getting after Gibby because he's a goalie himself. But no, it's a lazy goal. Like shorthanded goals are lazy goals.